Are you ready? Let's create some aliens. Going into our style area, and they're going to create a style called alien. And this is the class that we're going to be adding in to each of the aliens as we create them. So using position, and this time we use position relative, setting the top position to 0. And these are going to be dynamically adjusted with JavaScript. And then a width of 80 pixels. I usually like to set a few defaults before we adjust it with JavaScript, and also maybe make it a little bit higher, so 50 pixels. Add some padding. And of course, you can style these aliens as needed. I'm going to add in a box shadow as well for this. And we'll set a font size so we can decorate the aliens with some text. Text align, and slightly rounded sides. So it's our alien by default. So now we're ready to add them and create them. And we're going to do this using JavaScript. So using JavaScript, we're going to create an element on the fly using the create element method. And this gives us the ability to create elements or create a div. And I'll console log that div out so that we can see it as we're constructing it. So we go into Alien Maker, we hit Start. You can see that we're creating a bunch of divs here, but we don't have anything else happening. We're just creating a bunch of divs. So let's add some content into the div. We're going to take the div and using class list, add, and we'll add that class of alien that we just created to the div. So that's going to make the alien have that class. And you can see now the class of alien has been added in. And we should also set those values, so the style properties. So taking the style value of width as we're sending in a value for temp width. So it's going to get adjusted dynamically. And we need to always make sure that we add the pix there at the end. It won't set it with just a numeric value. And we want to also set an X and Y position. So for this element, we'll have an X position. And this can be whatever the value of row X is that we're passing in. And div Y position is going to be equal to whatever the value of row Y is that we passed in. And let's use math floor. So we bring it down to its closest value. So use the math method in order to do that. So bring it down to its closest rounded value. Then selecting the div, updating its style, and we're going to update the style left position. So using div X position plus pix. So that will set its left position. And we also want to set its top position. So use the value of div Y position for that. And I also wanted to add in one more object, and this is going to be the direction moving. And we'll set it to 1. So that means that whenever they get to the end, I want them to go the other way. And we're going to be able to accomplish that with just using the one variable, where if we multiply it by -1, the 1 will turn into a negative, and then we can move it the other way. And then once we hit this wall, then we want to turn it around and move them back the same way. So turning that back into 1, so a positive value. And then lastly, we're going to take our container object and we're going to append a child to it. And the child that we're adding in is the div that we just created. And there's a few adjustments on the calculations that we still need to make, because we're looking at the container width here. So maybe let's adjust this to be 100. And we're also going to take this temp width and move this around. So we need to move a few things around here just to make sure our calculations are correct and we're using that same value. Instead of setting the position container dim left position, and that can be our default left position. And also when we reset it, we need to update that one as well. And I'm also going to change alien from going relative to absolute so that the other aliens that are added in aren't going to be affecting those elements. So updating relative to absolute, and also update the display to be inline block. So I think we're ready to try that. So refresh, hit start game, and we built out our aliens, and notice that they're still positioning themselves too close together. So we need to make another tweak on the calculation of where the aliens are being positioned. So as we're building them, we're setting that row value. And that row value actually has to be accounted for. So we need to add another little bit into it. So plus 20. So try that now. So now that they're more stacked and there's spacing between them. And you can, of course, adjust this as needed. So if we adjust our alien width, so if we go 50, you can see that now we're aligning 5 aliens on the same row as we're not hitting that end part. But as soon as we hit that end part, then they go on to the next row. So if we try 70, they're going to be a little bit wider. And as mentioned, they're going to be sitting on the left-hand side. And the idea is that all of these aliens are going to be moving over to the right. And then once they hit the right, they go down a little bit and then they start heading back left. So we're going to create all of that within the animation frame. So go ahead and add this into the project so that you can create elements on the fly and add in some styling to them as well. And coming up next, we'll make them look a little bit more interesting before we continue with the animation. So that's still all to come.